Our next speaker is Ken Hu from AMO, Advanced Medical Optics, or now Abbott Medical Optics. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you. Today's my talk is UV vis of transmission and haze study of silicon fluid. Both Dan and I are Abbott Medical employee, full-time employee. Before going to start this talk, I would like to give a little bit background of this talk first, and then specify the purpose of this study, the material we are using in this study, which is silicon fluid, and test we are performed. And the result of these studies, and we will summarize them and then make a conclusion. Silicon fluid are widely used to prepare ophthalmic products such as intraocular lens. Clarity of this material is absolutely critical. However, I need to briefly explain here about to avoid future confusion. First is intraocular lens is not made of silicon. It's made of silicon elastomer or silicon gel, not a silicon fluid at this time. However, the silicon elastomer is made of silicon fluid by adding the cross-linker and planar catalyst. And then the clarity of the silicon elastomer is dependent on the silicon fluid itself. Therefore, clarity of silicon fluid is critical for the clarity of silicon elastomer. And to the best of our knowledge, fresh synthesized high refractive index silicon fluid is not it's always is kind of certain type of hazy. And then we need to emphasize high refractive index. Somebody may say we have a clear, pure silicon fluid, which is mostly is a refractive index of low refractive index 1.40 or not. We'll describe this detail later. There are two types of haze we discussed. For the transparent and the slightly translucent materials, we use the transmission method to detect directly from beneath them. For this opaque material, we use refraction method. For this study, we are always using the transmission mode. Based on the ASTM method, the scattering of the light by the specimen responsible for the loss of contrast, emphasize contrast of the object viewed through it. So the emphasis is contrast. If the contrast is reduced, then we say this material is haze. So let's give example in here. Definitely, it is appear that the haze level is higher on the sample on the left compared to the sample on the right. This is fresh synthesized fluid. We didn't do any purification work. After purification, you can see the haze level improves significantly after that. This is my last background slide to introduce a little bit why we think the haze level exists. It's because silicon fluid polymer, if you try to increase the high refractive index, then you need to add some phenol method. It's ring opening between the low refractive index dimethyl cyclic and high refractive index diphenyl cyclic. So due to the ring opening rate is different between these two ingredients, that's why they cause inhomogeneous formation of this final product. That's why they cause the haze issue. And the particles and contaminants also the possible cause of the haze. The purpose of this study, the only thing is we try to, sometimes people say your product has certain haze level, and then we try to say, how do we quantify the haze, to find the relationship between the haze and the UV transmission spectrum of silicon fluid. UV transmission is a very powerful technique. They can tell you how good this material is when compared to the other one, but they don't. It's very hard to describe the haze level because there are so many wave number range from 300 to 800. How did you quantify what their haze level? You say 400% is 80%, 500. It's difficult to describe. So we try to predict the haze level of silicon fluid from the UV transmission spectrum alone. What it means, if people say what this material haze is, and then we say, okay, if you don't have UV photometer to determine the haze level itself, then if you have the UV spectrum, then we can predict your haze level by UV spectrum alone. Material we use in here is we have 6 batches of 1.47 roughly material range from 6.4 to 28.9. Then you may ask why you make the same refract target material, you have such different haze level. I say sometimes synthesis work is difficult to predict. It depends on how powerful your starting material, how pure your starting material, how powerful the catalyst. So we found there's a different level of haze level, and then we use this for comparison, which is perfect comparison range. Tests we perform, we have UV vis transmission spectrum, because that's big band DU 800. That's kind of standard. You can determine the UV vis. And then refract index, we try to make sure that's our material is within the same refractive range, 1.47 plus minus 0.01. So it's a Tego refractometer. For the haze measurement, not all the lab have this type of equipment. It's Hunter Lab. Ultrascan per color measurement spectrophotometer. The name is so long because they have so many different models. And then haze level was defined by how much diffuse versus total intensity. So percent of diffuse versus percent of intensity, that's haze level. That's what we define. According to the vendor, the only thing put in their calculation is only thing scattered more than 2.5 degrees from the center line, they consider as haze. They say this is the standard to predict the haze. This is a typical UV spectrum, as I mentioned, one of these non-purified. And then how did you say this is haze? The only thing you can say 500 is roughly 82, 600 nanometer wave number is 85. So it's difficult to say, is this haze or is it not haze? So what are we reading from the definition? Haze level is defined by 100% versus your UV scan. So this range, yellow range, is the one people typically can define the haze. So of course, you can see the range in the wave number range is from 300 go to 800. And so this is wide range. And then for the haze level, sometimes we may, in the few slides later, you can see we calculate the area maybe from 300 to 800, the whole range, or from 350 to 800, or from 400 to 800. So we make 3 different calculations to see which area is responsible for the most accurate predict the haze level from the Hans Lab color spectrophotometer. So we try to find a correlation between them. This is the basic chart on the 6 different batches. And then you can see 3 columns. They have 3 different area range. One is from 300 to 800, as we mentioned, the wide range. And another is 350 to 800, and 400 to 800. So there's a wide range of all these 6 batches. We just calculate. The calculation is based on, the best way is to integrate the whole curve, but we don't have the equation. So what we did is we used the estimation by the percent T transmission difference between the curve and the 100% and times 0.5 nanometer wave number. So we integrate, we just add together, you use a spreadsheet, it's quick to calculate. This is the haze level by the Hunter meter. In here, we mentioned the haze level from them is from 0 to 100%. 100 is most haze material, there you cannot see through it. 0 is most clear. And then in the typical DI water is in the 0 range. And then for the translucent, totally opaque material is 100%. And from these 6 batches we have in here, you can see the range from 10.9, 6.4, 28.9. So it's range from 6.4 to 28.9. So what we did is we make a plot to see what happened. This plot is between the haze level on the y-axis is the haze from Hunter meter, spectrophotometer. And then the y-axis is the percent T UV spectrum, the yellow curve, if people remember the yellow curve between them. But this is from 300 to 800, the whole spectrum we calculate. From here, we get a pretty good, we get an equation with pretty good linear correlation relation, 0.9866. Then we say, how about haze level by 350 to 800? We get another calculation, a different equation, even better. The linear correlation 0.9867. So that's linear correlation. And then finally, we find it from 400 to 800. Well, they are all relative the same. Linear correlation coefficient are really in the 0.98 above range. But I think we find the best is around 300 to 800 range. So basically, summary in here, we say haze versus UV scan. What's their relation? The linear correlation is perfect fit by mathematical equation, y equal to 0.331x minus 0.004, where 1x is area from UV spectrum and y is the haze level. So in the future, and then people ask you, to say how this material haze level, you say if you have UV spectrum, and then we just integrate area, and then we can predict the haze level. So basic area in transmission show the linear relation with the haze level. It is possible to determine the haze level from UV spectrum by simple mathematical calculation. But I need to emphasize, for this refractive 1.47, this equation applies. If you have a different refractive index, then that equation may be different because they have different chain opening rate. That's something the haze level we need to study on certain different refractive index. Finally, I would like to thanks for the helpful discussion, Dr. Fred Chen, Abigail for the UV, Derek Finn for the haze measurement, and Gina Thomas for the RI measurement. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ken. We have time for one question. Ken, I have a question, actually.
Yeah.
Ken, in your, I think it was on slide number 14, you had shown in some of the batches that the haze levels are very similar. Can you visually see a difference?
Yeah, basically, if your haze level from 6 to 28, you can see visual difference. From 6 to 10, it's very difficult to see the difference. So that's why sometimes complain, they say, well, your haze something, and then we say, what's the haze level? So we need to determine what's the optimal haze level will be most people unacceptable. Because haze level is dependent on your individual as well.
Your perception.
As well, yeah. So basically, that's why we try to find a standard method to make a universal standard. Thank you.
Excellent work. Thank you, Ken.